This is Fox News Alert. We are following several major breaking stories this Friday night. Now, I know so many of you have been very frustrated, so have I, with our system of justice. We watched, let's see, Mueller's witch hunt. That's been playing out for 2 years, day after day. A lot of people's lives have been ruined over, quote, process crimes just because of their connection to President Trump. And I know you've been saying to yourself, well, what about all of the people that we know have been abusing power, committing real and serious crimes? Hillary Clinton's one. We look at people like McCabe and Comey and Strzok and Page and many, many more. What about the FISA abuses, stripping Americans of their constitutional rights? What about the rampant conflicts of interest at some of the highest levels at the DOJ, FBI? Tonight, we have great news. According to my sources, everything that we have been revealing about the deep state for 2 years will very soon result in major, serious ramifications. We're going to have a complete breakdown of all of this coming up. All right, but first, just breaking a couple hours ago, Jussie Smollett has been indicted on 16 felony counts for allegedly orchestrating an elaborate, poorly executed hate crime hoax. If found guilty, he could face major prison time. We're going to have more on this breaking news throughout the show. Also coming up tonight, we have big breaking news surrounding House Intel chair, known liar, and known collaborator in collusion himself involved in Adam Schiff and his brand new best friend, Michael Cohen. Serious charges tonight being made about Adam Schiff. Plus, new developments in the Democrats' scary new wave of anti-Semitism, bigotry, and hate. We have a Hannity expose on crazy Uncle Joe Biden. But we begin tonight, breaking news out of our Hannity Watch on the Deep State. What we're about to show you, this is only the beginning. Buckle up. Thanks to a surprise move by one very brave House Republican, we now have damning evidence surrounding the corrupt, unethical, dishonest actions of so many deep state actors over the past 3 years. The congressman is from Georgia. His name is Doug Collins, and he released the full transcript of Bruce Orr's deposition, and its contents are shocking. By the way, there's going to be a cascade of these depositions being released. Now, the deep state house of cards, mark my words, it is beginning to tumble down. To give you some background, keep in mind, Bruce Orr was once the fourth highest ranking member of Obama's Department of Justice. He became a conduit for the federal government's Russia collusion investigation. Remember, his wife, Nellie, actually worked for Christopher Steele. She was working at Fusion GPS on the Clinton bought and paid for anti-Trump dossier and used her husband's position to proliferate the dossier's contents throughout the highest levels of government. That's contained in this deposition. And according to Orr's testimony, which is now completely public, Bruce Orr passed along a thumb drive from his wife to the FBI so that Trump haters like Strzok and Page could have direct access to Hillary Clinton's op research. And we also learned that both the FBI and the Clinton campaign, via Fusion GPS, they were both paying Christopher Steele for this so-called intelligence. And we know that Steele was being paid by a Russian oligarch. We've talked about him, Oleg Deripaska, who had a grievance against Paul Manafort over a business deal gone wrong. Let me recap this so you have to understand this. Steele was getting paid by your FBI, Hillary Clinton, and the DNC, and a Russian oligarch. Pretty good gig if you can get it, but that's not all. Thanks to this transcript, we now know that Bruce Orr testified under oath about meeting with Fusion GPS founder and Christopher Steele's boss, Glenn Simpson. Now, this occurred during the 2016 campaign. Now, Simpson, he testified that he didn't meet with Bruce Orr until after the election. Question is, which one of these two guys is lying? Now, we also learned from this deposition that Orr testified he notified the FBI about his contacts with Christopher Steele also during the 2016 election. But according to a statement from Adam Schiff, who I think is the biggest liar in Congress, he claims that Bruce Orr did not tell the FBI about his contacts with Steele again until after the election. Here we are again. Which one is lying? My money's on Schiff. Now, here's where it gets really important. Bruce Orr also testifies that he notified the FBI of the dossier's extremely biased source and Christopher Steele's personal mission to stop Trump, a big Trump hater. On page 15 of the October 2016 FISA application against Carter Page, it reads the following. The FBI was unaware of any derogatory information pertaining to Christopher Steele. That's right. The problem is everybody in the FBI knew in August of 2016 the dossier was tainted, that Hillary paid for it, the DNC paid for it, Comey, McCabe. He even briefed Andrew Weissman, who's Mueller's pit bull, about this bias. So literally, the special counsel's office has been long aware of the biased origins of the fake, phony Clinton, DNC, and apparently FBI and Russian oligarch payments to Christopher Steele. This is hugely important, a detail never provided to the FISA court. That's called the conspiracy to commit fraud on a court, to spy on a Trump campaign associate, denying that person his constitutional rights, and this being done at the height of the 2016 election. So in other words, they have purposely withheld to the FISA court, conspiracy to commit fraud, plain and simple, information that was so relevant, and it became the bulk of the FISA application. Now, it doesn't end there. Christopher Steele testified under oath in Great Britain under the threat of perjury. I don't know if any of this dossier is true, maybe 50-50. You know, it was just raw intelligence. In other words, the author of the dossier doesn't stand by the dossier. Raw intelligence 50-50 does not become the bulk of evidence to deny an American citizen, Carter Page, his constitutional rights and get a FISA warrant. Now, thankfully, Senator Lindsey Graham has now reopened the Senate investigation into FISA abuse, and we're also waiting for Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General's report on the same. And unlike the Democrats' never-ending witch hunt, this investigation centers around real crimes with real evidence. So what I'm telling you is it's all now beginning to cascade down. It's time to officially now pull the veil off the deep state effort. They tried to steal an election. They had a favored candidate, Hillary Clinton. They had somebody they didn't like, Donald Trump. And literally, they wanted to alter the will of the American people, both before the election and then undo the career of a duly elected president. This is abuse of power we have never, ever seen in the history of this country. We have a lot more coming up. Now, to turn to more breaking news tonight about another deep state bad actor. Now, do you remember when Congressman Adam Schiff made such a big deal when then House Intel Committee Chair Devin Nunes went over to the White House to review documents? Remember this? Take a look.
The chairman will need to decide whether he is the chairman of an independent investigation into conduct which includes allegations of potential coordination between the Trump campaign and the Russians, or he is going to act as a surrogate of the White House because he cannot do both. And unfortunately, I think the actions of today throw great doubt into the ability of both the chairman and the committee to conduct the investigation the way it ought to be conducted.
Tonight, I'm calling for an investigation into Adam Schiff. He is in hot water after reportedly, get this, sending his staff to New York City to meet with Michael Cohen for over 10 hours. Remember, he testified only 7 hours prior to his hearings on Capitol Hill. 10 hours. Well, that kind of reminds me of the time Bill Clinton met with Loretta Lynch on the tarmac during the Department of Justice's investigation. They were about to rule on whether to indict Hillary or not. Remember, Cohen also testified that they went over and he reviewed topics with Schiff himself, something the congressman denied. Again, one is lying here. Which one? Take a look.
What did you talk to Mr. Schiff about?
I spoke to Mr. Schiff about topics that were going to be raised at the upcoming hearing.
The extent of my contact was just inviting him to testify and also trying to allay his concerns about the president's threats against him and his family.
Talk about topics? That's like a teacher giving you the questions to a test ahead of time. Staff 10 hours? Were they coaching? This now needs its own investigation. What he did with Michael Cohen would be called witness tampering, and it's not a first for Adam Schiff. In July of 2018, Congressman Schiff actually met with Fusion GPS founder Glenn Simpson. He says accidentally. They just ran into each other in Aspen, Colorado, while Simpson was a key witness in an ongoing House collusion probe. Now, the pair denied talking about the investigation. They were just socializing. And let's not forget Ed Henry's reporting from 2017. According to Ed, during a closed-door confidential hearing with Donald Trump Jr., remember, Schiff was spotted going in and out of the hearing room over and over and over again, while at the very same time, fake news CNN was gaining access to what was going on in real time with Don Jr.'s testimony as it was happening. Care to explain that, Mr. Schiff? And who could ever forget the time that Schiff was caught on tape, yes, colluding with somebody that he thought was a Russian to get dirt on President Trump so it could impact America's electoral process. The thing that he says he's investigating, we got him on tape doing it. Listen.
What's the nature of the compromise?
Well, there were pictures of naked Trump.
And so Putin was made aware of the availability of the compromising material?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much. We will be back in touch with you through our staff to make arrangements to obtain these materials for our committee and for the FBI, and I appreciate you reaching out to us.
Real collusion with Russia. Naked pictures of Donald Trump. I'll have more flexibility after the election. All right, given the serious conflicts of interest, now allegations of witness tampering, collusion, his constant lying, apparent leaking that needs to be investigated, well, Adam Schiff needs to hold himself to the same standard that he held to Devin Nunes, and that would be recuse himself from the Intel Committee's investigations immediately. There now needs to be an ethics investigation into Adam Schiff, and he needs to be held accountable. No wonder he doesn't want to come on the show. His actions over the past 2 years represent every single thing that is wrong with the sewer of Washington, D.C. These are now major developments, and remember, so much more to come in terms of other depositions, 302s, the FISA warrant, Gang of Eight. It's all coming out, and people will be held accountable. All right, we continue, by the way, our very important Hannity Watch on the rise of anti-Semitism and bigotry inside the Democratic Party. This has been a really revealing and despicable week. As we speak, an elected U.S. member of Congress is sitting on the all-powerful Foreign Affairs Committee, even after suggesting, quote, evil Jews were hypnotizing the world, that Jewish money is controlling our government, and that her colleagues have a dual loyalty to Israel, which is anti-Semitism and on the most vile level. This should shock the conscience and alarm every single American. Apparently not those in the Democratic Party. A group of outspoken radical socialists, they're now pulling the strings in the House of Representatives. There's Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Tlaib, Congresswoman Omar. Apparently, they're in head of the entire Democratic Party, and Nancy Pelosi is just speaker in name only. The rest of the Democrats are either fear-mongering or in total agreement. They had an opportunity to condemn this hate, this bigotry, this anti-Semitism, and they didn't do it this week. Now, by the way, that's why Pelosi is once again making excuses for this bigoted, continued behavior of her colleagues. Watch this.
I don't think our colleague is anti-Semitic. I think she has a different experience in the use of words, doesn't understand that some of them are fraught with meaning that she didn't realize.
There's no shortage of prominent Democrats rushing to defend Omar, and as per usual, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez leading the way. Get this, she actually, who you just saw at the beginning of the montage, is fundraising off of Omar's anti-Semitism, begging for donations because pro-Israel groups are coming after her, Tlaib and Omar. The new narrative of the Democratic Party is anyone who calls out Congresswoman Omar's anti-Semitism is Islamophobic. It's a disaster. This is really now a issue this country has to deal with. What? You have that. We have, abortion after birth, during the birthing process, a party that leans so far left. Let's see, no planes, no cows, highest taxes ever, and, no cars, oil, or gas. President Obama's not liberal enough. Congresswoman Omar actually went after Obama today.